My husband told me he was working late for 6 months. I tracked his car to our wedding venue, where he was planning a vow renewal with his real wife. I showed up to their ceremony with a lawyer and our marriage certificate. I met Derek on Bumble 6 years ago. His profile said he was a software engineer, recently divorced, loved hiking and craft beer. The photo showed him at what looked like a mountain summit, smiling genuinely. Our first date was at a tapas place downtown. He showed up 10 minutes early, asked actual follow-up questions when I talked about my work in pharmaceutical sales. By dessert, I'd already decided I wanted a second date. He told me about his divorce during our third date. Said it had been finalized 8 months earlier, that it was amicable, no kids involved. His ex-wife Catherine had wanted different things. She was ready to settle down in the suburbs and start a family. He wasn't ready for that life yet. I needed to figure out who I was outside of that relationship, he said. Do some growing up. I appreciated the honesty, appreciated that he'd taken time to heal before dating again. We got married 14 months later at a small vineyard in Napa Valley, just 40 guests. Derek's side was smaller. He said most of his family lived on the East Coast and couldn't make it. His best man was a college friend named Mike. The ceremony was at sunset. Derek cried when I walked down the aisle between the rows of grapevines. That photo sat on our mantle for 5 years. Our marriage was solid. Derek worked from home most days, commuted to the office in San Jose twice a week. I traveled for work occasionally. We had dinner together most nights, talked about maybe getting a dog. 6 months ago, everything shifted. Derek started working late constantly. He'd be on his laptop until 9, 10, 11 p.m., sometimes past midnight. Big project, he'd say. Total system overhaul. The deadline's brutal, but the bonus will be worth it. Other changes appeared too. He started showering immediately when he got home, even on days when he'd supposedly been home working. His phone was always face down. He'd take calls in the garage, saying the reception was better out there. When my friend Lauren visited, she noticed. Has Derek always been this attached to his phone? She asked, watching him check it for the third time during dinner. It's just work stress, I said automatically. After she left, she texted, you know they make tracking apps now, right? Like for peace of mind, just saying. I deleted the message. Derek and I had trust, but the seed was planted. Our 5th anniversary fell on a Tuesday in April. I made reservations at Chez Nous, the French restaurant where Derek had proposed. I got there at 6:50, ordered a glass of champagne, waited. At 7:15, my phone buzzed. Server crash at work. Can't make it, so sorry, we'll make it up to you. I sat there alone for another 20 minutes watching other couples. The waiter kept asking if I wanted to order. At 7:45, I left, drove home. Crawled into bed still wearing my dress. Derek came home at 1:17 a.m. I was awake. Crisis averted, he whispered, kissing my forehead. He smelled like cologne I didn't recognize. Sorry about dinner, we'll do something special this weekend. He was asleep within minutes. I lay there until dawn. The next day, I ordered a GPS tracker from Amazon, $39, magnetic case, real-time updates via app. I felt guilty attaching it under Derek's car bumper, felt like I was crossing a line. But I told myself I'd check it once, see him at work, and remove it, proof that Lauren was wrong. Friday morning, Derek left for the office at 8:30. I watched the blue dot on the tracking app. It moved along Highway 101 south toward San Jose. Then it didn't stop at San Jose. The dot kept moving, exited the highway, wound through suburban streets, finally stopped at an address in Los Gatos, not his office, a residential address. I stared at the screen for 10 minutes. The dot didn't move. That night, Derek came home at 11:40, said there'd been meetings all day. Saturday, the dot moved to the same Los Gatos address. Sunday, too. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The pattern held. I plugged the address into Google. Street View showed a 2-story house with a blue front door. Zillow said 4-bedroom, 3-bath, estimated value of $1.2 million. Property records showed the owner's name, Catherine Morrison. Morrison was Derek's last name before we got married. He'd taken mine, said it felt like a fresh start after his divorce. Catherine Morrison, his ex-wife. I opened Facebook with shaking hands. Searched Catherine Morrison, Los Gatos, California, found her immediately. Honey blonde hair, warm smile, 36 years old, elementary school teacher. I clicked through to her photos. The first album was titled Summer Vacation 2023. Photos of Catherine, 2 young children, and Derek. My Derek at Disneyland. Derek had his arm around Catherine. The kids wore Mickey Mouse ears. I scrolled faster. Lucas's 5th birthday showed Derek helping a little boy blow out candles. Emma's first day of second grade showed Derek photographing a girl with a backpack. Christmas morning, 2023, showed all four of them in matching pajamas, opening presents. Every photo dated back years. 8 years of photos. Derek with Catherine and 2 children I'd never known existed. The most recent post was from 3 weeks ago. A selfie of Catherine and Derek on their back deck. The caption, 15 years together, still going strong, red, planning something special for my forever love. The comments were full of heart emojis. You two are goals, beautiful couple. I couldn't breathe. I sat on our bathroom floor, phone clutched in my hand. Derek wasn't working late, he was living a second life. I hired a private investigator the next morning. Frank Wilson, former police detective, 20 years of experience. What exactly do you need to know? He asked. Everything. I need to know everything about my husband's relationship with his ex-wife, and whether he's actually divorced from her. That's a courthouse record search. I can have that information within 48 hours. He called back in 36 hours. Mrs. Ellis, I need you to sit down. I was already sitting. Just tell me. Derek Morrison married Catherine Morrison on June 14, 2009. I've pulled the marriage certificate from Santa Clara County. And the divorce decree? There isn't one. I've checked every county in California. No divorce filing. No legal separation. No annulment. Derek Morrison and Catherine Morrison are still legally married. The room spun. That's impossible. We got married 5 years ago. I have a marriage certificate. You have a certificate for a bigamous marriage. In California, if someone is already married, any subsequent marriage is void from the start. Legally, you were never married to Derek Morrison. What about the kids? Emma Morrison, born March 2017. Lucas Morrison, born August 2019. Both list Derek Morrison as father. I did the math. Derek and I got married in June 2019. Lucas was born 2 months later. Derek had gotten Catherine pregnant while dating me, while planning our wedding. There's more, Frank said. Based on the GPS tracking, he's running a split schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday nights at the Los Gatos address. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday nights at your address. Sundays rotate. He's living with both of us. That's what the pattern suggests. For how long? Based on property records, Derek has been listed at the Los Gatos address since 2008. Continuously, he never left that house. He just added yours. I hung up and threw up in the kitchen sink. That Saturday, I followed Derek myself. Watched the tracking app until he arrived at Catherine's house at 6:20 p.m., gave him 10 minutes, then drove to Los Gatos. I parked 3 houses down. Derek's car was in the driveway. Lights were on in the kitchen and living room. I got out. Walked slowly down the sidewalk like I was out for an evening stroll. As I approached, I heard voices. A kitchen window was cracked open. I stepped off the sidewalk, crept along the side of the house until I was standing below the window. Catherine's voice, did you confirm the final head count with the venue? 87 guests, Derek said. They're setting up the ceremony on the west lawn, reception in the main building. I still can't believe we're doing this at the same place we got married. Full circle. It feels right, renewing our vows where we started. June 14th, our anniversary. My legs felt weak. They were planning a vow renewal at a vineyard on their anniversary. June 14th was also my wedding anniversary with Derek. Same date. What about her? Catherine asked. Have you figured out how to handle that situation? She doesn't suspect anything. After the ceremony, I'll tell her I need space. That things haven't been working. She'll move on eventually. And that will be it. You'll be done with that whole phase. That whole phase was a mistake. You're my wife, Catherine. You've always been my wife. I'm ready to commit fully now. To you, to the kids, to our family. I backed away from the window, walked to my car on autopilot, drove home. Sat in my driveway for an hour, staring at our house. The house Derek lived in 2 nights a week. The next morning, I called Maria Santos, a family law attorney. I need to understand my options, I said, and told her everything. Maria was quiet for a moment. First, let me be clear. Your marriage to Derek is void. It never legally existed because he was already married. You can't divorce someone you were never legally married to. So I have no recourse? I didn't say that. Derek committed fraud. He obtained property, money, and benefits through deliberate deception. You can sue him civilly. You can also report him for bigamy, which is a felony in California. What would happen to him? Bigamy carries up to 3 years in prison and fines up to $10,000. With this much evidence, the DA would likely prosecute. I want to file charges. I want to sue him. I want him to face consequences. Let's gather everything we need first. Over the next 2 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. Cold, calculating, methodical. I copied Derek's laptop while he was in the shower. Found emails going back months planning the vow renewal. Correspondence with the venue coordinator. Flowers, catering, music. One email from Derek to Catherine, sent 3 months ago. This is the real wedding, the one that counts. Everything else was just me being stupid and selfish. Another email to the venue. We're renewing our vows on our actual anniversary, June 14th. It's important that everything is perfect. They had a wedding registry, Crate and Barrel and Williams-Sonoma. Friends were buying them gifts. I photographed everything, saved everything, built a case. The week before June 14th, I met with Maria and the district attorney's office. The Ada, Jennifer Park reviewed my evidence. This is one of the clearest bigamy cases I've seen. We'll absolutely prosecute. I want to be there when it happens, I said. That's unusual. He's planning to end things with me at his vow renewal. He's going to pretend I was just a mistake. I want him to face consequences before he gets that satisfaction. Jennifer looked at Maria. Maria nodded. All right, Jennifer said. We can arrange that. June 14th arrived bright and clear. The venue was in Napa Valley, the same vineyard where Derek and I had gotten married 5 years earlier. I'd called ahead, explained the situation to the event coordinator. She'd been horrified, then supportive. We had no idea he'd been married here before. Do what you need to do. I arrived at 2 p.m. The ceremony was scheduled for 3. Guests were already arriving. I waited in the venue's office with Maria, Jennifer Park, and 2 police officers. Watched through the window as the chairs filled. 87 people who had no idea. At 2:57, music began. Catherine walked down the aisle in a white lace dress, not quite a wedding dress, but close. Derek was waiting at the altar. Tuxedo, tears in his eyes. Just like at our wedding, the officiant began. Friends and family were gathered here to celebrate the love between Catherine and Derek. 15 years ago, they made promises to each other. Today, they choose to renew those promises. I stood up. Maria put her hand on my shoulder. You ready? Yes. We walked out of the office. Through the main building, out onto the lawn. I walked down the aisle. People noticed immediately. Whispers, heads turning. Catherine and Derek were still facing forward, hadn't seen me yet. I reached the front. Stepped directly between the officiant and the couple. Derek's face went white. What are you? Actually, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, we're not gathered here to witness a vow renewal. We're gathered here to witness a crime. I pulled out my marriage certificate. The one with Derek's signature and mine, dated June 14th, 2019, held it up. Derek is already married to me. We got married 5 years ago, today actually. It's our anniversary too. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones came out. That's not, Derek started. It's not legal. I finished. You're right, because you never divorced Catherine, which makes you a bigamist, which is a felony. I turned to the crowd. For the past 5 years, Derek has been living a double life. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights with Catherine and their children in Los Gatos. Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights with me in Palo Alto. Catherine was shaking her head. No, he told me he divorced you. He said you were just a phase. I have recordings. I pulled out my phone, hit play. Derek's voice filled the space, a recording from 3 weeks ago when he'd called his boss. I need to take a week off in mid-June. It's my wedding anniversary. My wife and I are doing a big celebration. His boss, 5 years, right? That's right. Best decision I ever made marrying her. I stopped the recording. He was talking about Catherine, but he's legally married to me. He's maintained both relationships for 5 years. A man in the third row stood up. Derek, you borrowed $15,000 from me 2 years ago. You said it was for divorce attorney fees. Derek's mouth opened and closed. The man turned to Catherine. He told me you were taking him to the cleaners in the divorce. Catherine was crying. He told me she was stalking him, that she couldn't accept it was over. I have emails. I walked to Catherine, handed her printed copies. These are from Derek to the venue coordinator. One specifically says, this is the real wedding, the one that counts. Everything else was just me being stupid and selfish. Catherine read, hands shaking. She looked at Derek. You promised you'd ended things with her. I was going to, Derek said, panicked. After today, this was supposed to be our fresh start. Fresh start? I laughed harshly. You were going to break up with me at your vow renewal to your real wife. The police officers stepped forward from the back of the aisle. Derek Morrison, you're under arrest for bigamy under California Penal Code Section 283. The other officer began reading rights while putting handcuffs on Derek's wrists. Derek was crying. Please, not like this, not in front of everyone. But everyone was watching, 87 guests, all filming. I walked to Catherine. I'm sorry, I said. I know this isn't how you wanted your day to go, but you deserve to know the truth. She looked at me. How long did you know? About 3 weeks. And you let me plan this whole thing, let me invite all these people. I needed the evidence to be overwhelming. I needed witnesses. I needed him to face consequences for what he's done to both of us. She stared at me, then nodded slowly. Thank you, I think. The police led Derek away. Chaos spread across the lawn. I turned to Maria. What happens now? Now we file the civil suit. 6 weeks later, Derek pleaded guilty to avoid trial. 2 years in county jail, 3 years probation, restitution ordered. Catherine filed for divorce. The proceedings took 8 months. She got the house, full custody, substantial support. I sued Derek for fraud and emotional distress. We settled out of court. Derek paid me $180,000. I used the money as a down payment on a house in Berkeley. Small Victorian. Garden in back. Space for the dog I'd always wanted. Catherine and I met for coffee 3 months after the vow renewal. She reached out through Maria. We sat in a Starbucks, both awkward. I keep thinking about how he lied to both of us, Catherine said. For years, every day, all lies. He was living 2 completely separate lives. Did you have any idea? None, until the last few months. Even then, I thought maybe an affair, not an entire second family. We're both idiots. We're both victims. Catherine nodded. Yeah, I guess we are. Derek got out after 16 months for good behavior. I heard through Catherine that he moved to Arizona, started over somewhere nobody knew his story. I moved on too, dated carefully. I was married to a bigamist is not a great icebreaker, but it's effective. The man I'm seeing now, Tom, heard the whole story on our second date. He listened without interrupting. At the end, he said, that must have been incredibly painful. I'm sorry you went through that. Not, are you over it? Just sympathy. We've been together 8 months. He introduced me to his family last month. His sister asked how we met. Tom said, at a dog park. Her golden retriever tried to steal my sandwich. True story, Charlie is a menace, but he's my menace. I drove past that vineyard last weekend. Didn't mean to. Just ended up on that road. The property looks the same. Still beautiful. I didn't feel sad looking at it. Didn't feel angry. Just thought about the woman I was 5 years ago. The one who walked down that aisle believing the man crying at the altar loved her. That woman doesn't exist anymore. She died the day I found out my marriage was a lie. The woman I am now is harder, smarter, less trusting but more cert. And that woman, she's doing just fine. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe if you want more stories like this.